Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, heart racing, wondering if you're doing enough to secure your financial future? Or maybe you have stood in the grocery store, staring at prices, feeling that knot in your stomach as you calculate whether you can afford everything in your cart. You're not alone. In fact, that feeling, that mix of anxiety and uncertainty about money is something almost all of us have experienced at some point. The other day, I was having coffee with a friend who just got a significant promotion at work. Instead of feeling excited, she was stressed. I am making more money than ever, she told me, but somehow I feel less secure than when I was earning half as much. Her words hit home because they reflect something profound about our relationship with money. It's not just about how much we make, it's about how we think about and handle what we have. Think about it. We spend years in school learning about history, literature, and advanced mathematics. But how many of us were ever taught the fundamental skills of managing our money? We are expected to figure it out on our own, through trial and error, often learning expensive lessons along the way. But here's what's fascinating. Financial wellness isn't just about numbers and spreadsheets. It's about understanding the psychology behind our money decisions, creating systems that work with our natural habits, and building a foundation that can weather any storm. Let me share a story that changed my entire perspective on financial wellness. When I first started working, I thought I was doing everything right. I had a good job, I was making decent money, and I even had what I thought was a solid savings plan. But then something unexpected happened. My car broke down completely, requiring expensive repairs I hadn't planned for. At the same time, my rent increased, and suddenly my carefully balanced financial life started to crumble. It was during this crisis that I realized something crucial. Having a good income isn't the same as having good financial wellness. I was making the same mistakes many of us do. Living paycheck to paycheck without a real emergency fund, and most importantly, without understanding the fundamental principles of building lasting financial security. This experience led me down a path of discovering what real financial wellness means, and what I learned surprised me. It turns out that many of the most financially secure people I know aren't necessarily the highest earners. Instead, they are the ones who understand and apply certain key principles consistently. Take my neighbor, for example. She's a teacher, not making huge money by any means, but she's one of the most financially secure people I know. Her secret? It's not complex investment strategies or extreme frugality. Instead, she practices what I now call mindful money management. She knows exactly where her money goes, not because she tracks every penny obsessively, but because she's created simple systems that work for her lifestyle. One day, she shared with me how she approached her finances, and it was eye-opening. Money is just a tool, she told me, like a hammer or a screwdriver. It's not good or bad on its own. It's all about how you use it. This simple perspective shift changed everything for me. Think about how most of us approach money. We often have this love-hate relationship with it. We want more of it, but we feel guilty talking about it. We know we should be better at managing it, but we avoid looking at our bank accounts because it makes us anxious. It's like we are playing a game without knowing the rules and then wondering why we keep losing. But here's the thing, the rules aren't actually that complicated. The basic principles of financial wellness are surprisingly simple. It's our emotional relationship with money that makes things complex. Let me give you a practical example. Most financial advice will tell you to create a budget. Simple enough, right? But how many of us have tried to stick to a strict budget only to give up after a few weeks? The problem isn't that budgeting doesn't work. It's that we are trying to force ourselves into a system that doesn't match how we naturally think and behave. Instead of traditional budgeting, my neighbor uses what she calls the bucket system. Every time she gets paid, she immediately divides her money into different purposes. Some for immediate needs, some for future goals, and some for enjoyment right now. This isn't revolutionary, but what makes it work is that it aligns with how our brains naturally think about money. This brings me to one of the most important principles of financial wellness: understanding that it's not just about restriction and sacrifice. True financial wellness is about creating a sustainable relationship with money that enhances your life rather than constrains it. I learned this lesson the hard way during my own financial journey. At first, after my car breakdown crisis, I went to the other extreme. I became super frugal, cutting out every possible expense, trying to save as much as possible. But you know what happened? I was miserable, and eventually I rebounded into even worse spending habits. It wasn't until I found a balance between saving for the future and enjoying the present that I started making real progress. Let's talk about something that rarely gets discussed in financial advice: the emotional aspect of money. Have you ever noticed how your mood affects your spending, or how financial stress can impact your relationships? Understanding this emotional component is crucial for building true financial wellness. I remember working with a colleague who was always stressed about money, despite making a good salary. One day, we had a heart-to-heart conversation, and he revealed that his stress stemmed from his childhood experiences of financial instability. This awareness was transformative for him. Once he understood the emotional patterns driving his financial decisions, he could start making changes. This brings us to another crucial aspect of financial wellness: the power of small, consistent actions. We often think we need to make dramatic changes to improve our financial situation, but the reality is quite different. Small, sustainable changes usually lead to better long-term results than dramatic overhauls that we can't maintain. Let me share a practical example. Instead of trying to save half his salary all at once, my colleague started with saving just 1% more than he was currently saving. It seemed almost too small to matter, but here's what happened. That small change was easy to maintain, and it gave him confidence. The next month he increased it by another 1%. Within a year he had dramatically increased his savings rate without feeling deprived or stressed. This concept of incremental progress applies to all aspects of financial wellness. Whether it is reducing debt, increasing savings, or learning about investments, small steps consistently taken can lead to remarkable results over time. Speaking of investments, let's address one of the biggest misconceptions about financial wellness: that you need to be an expert in the stock market or complex financial instruments to build wealth. While investment knowledge is valuable, the foundation of financial wellness is much simpler. Think of it like building a house. Before you worry about installing solar panels or a smart home system, you need to have solid foundations, walls, and a roof. In financial terms, this means having a reliable system for managing your regular expenses, building an emergency fund, and understanding your relationship with money. I learned this lesson from an unexpected source, my grandfather. He never made a huge salary, never played the stock market, but he managed to build significant financial security over his lifetime. His secret? Consistency and patience. He understood that financial wellness is more like a marathon than a sprint. Let me share some of his wisdom that is particularly relevant today. He always said, make your money work as hard as you do. But he didn't mean complex investment strategies. Instead, he focused on making informed decisions about everyday financial choices. Understanding the true cost of debt, being mindful of recurring expenses, and always having a buffer for unexpected events. This brings us to a critical point about financial wellness in today's world: the importance of adaptability. The financial landscape is constantly changing. New technologies, payment methods, and financial products appear regularly. The key isn't to chase every new trend, but to understand the fundamental principles that remain constant. Take digital payment apps, for example. They have made transactions more convenient, but they have also made it easier to lose track of spending. The solution isn't to avoid these technologies, but to adapt our financial wellness strategies to work with them. Many of my friends now use these apps tracking features to their advantage, making it easier to monitor and adjust their spending habits. Another crucial aspect of financial wellness is understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. But rather than getting technical, let's think about it in practical terms. An asset is anything that has the potential to benefit your financial future, while a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket over time. This understanding can transform how you make financial decisions. For instance, I used to view my monthly gym membership as just another expense. But when I realized that investing in my health could save me money on medical bills in the future, it changed how I thought about that spending. It's about seeing the bigger picture of how your financial decisions impact your overall well-being. Let's talk about debt, a topic that causes anxiety for many people. But instead of viewing all debt as negative, it's important to understand that there is a difference between productive and unproductive debt. A loan for education or starting a business might be productive debt if it increases your earning potential. Credit card debt for unnecessary purchases, on the other hand, is usually unproductive and should be minimized. I remember a friend who was paralyzed by her student loan debt. She was so focused on paying it off that she missed opportunities to invest in her career growth. Once she understood the concept of productive versus unproductive debt, she was able to make more balanced decisions about her finances. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize something crucial. Financial wellness isn't a destination, it's a journey. It's not about reaching some magical number in your bank account. It's about building a healthy, sustainable relationship with money that supports the life you want to live. Start where you are. Maybe that means tracking your spending for the first time, or setting up an automatic savings transfer, or simply taking time to understand your emotional relationship with money. Remember, small steps taken consistently lead to significant changes over time. And speaking of taking steps toward improvement, if you found this exploration of financial wellness helpful, you will definitely want to check out our previous video on Master the Art of Communication, Transform Your Career and Relationships. Why? Because strong communication skills often lead to better financial outcomes, whether it is negotiating a salary, discussing finances with your partner, or making important financial decisions. You can find the link to that video in the description below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with more videos that will help you master essential life skills and build a better future. Thanks for watching Elevate with Salman. Until next time, remember, financial wellness isn't about having the most money. It's about making the most of the money you have.